It was the luckiest moment of my life because the day before, like this time is scheduled out like months in advance, you know? So like on Tuesday, whatever, at 7 o'clock you're dropping, you know, and you have like a 10-minute wind window, maybe 15. And the day before, at that time, howling wind. The day after, ripping winds. So that day at 7 o'clock, dead calm. Like
7 a.m.
7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. at Mammoth at Canyon Lodge. Like thinking like it's always windy there.
Yeah.
Like I got so damn lucky, and I mean, probably would have done it anyway, you know. But it was, yeah, that was like, I don't know, someone was looking out for me for sure. I actually unintentionally broke a record for longest dirt to dirt straight air, like 119 feet and something. So like, and that was just completely by accident. So it was,
and that was just testing it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of a trip, man.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny, fueled by Monster Energy.
What are you going to do with your hands?
Just the whole interview.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
he's going for it.
I think he has a question.
We're at 10 minutes.
Man, if there's anyone that could do an entire interview with the horns in the air, it's probably Cam Zink.
Dude, let's do it.
Let's
do it.
For those of you who don't know, Cam Zink is a mountain biker, Monster Energy mountain biker, and man, I actually watched you when you broke that Guinness World Record. Was it in Mammoth?
Yeah. Did you make it? Do you live in Mammoth? Did you used to?
I did live in Mammoth for a long time, and now I live on Mono Lake.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I'm like a hermit out there.
Well, dude, he's from Reno. I mean,
Reno.
You from Reno?
From Carson.
From
but
Carson.
Yeah, everyone moves to Reno when they turn 18, yeah.
Right? So, like, that used to be our local airport.
Yeah.
We were kind of like, this story, actually, Danny, is going to be kind of like our childhood. We're going to, like, take some steps back because he had a very similar upbringing like yourself and myself.
Do you remember a little show called MTV Made?
Yep.
Oh,
I used to hang out with the girl that was the snowboarder chick.
That Dingo taught how to snowboard.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, how funny is that? Carson High School.
You're going to make him super jealous right now.
No. Amanda Bonds is her name. She's
Dude,
cool.
Yeah, pretty funny, huh? It's small world.
Small world. Did you meet her before she was on the Made show?
Yeah,
after? You knew grew up?
in high school and everything, yeah.
Did you go to her school or her dad's school? Or her dad was the basketball coach at that school?
Her dad was, I don't know which school he was basketball coach at, but
maybe it was an opposite school.
But apparently her mom was a playmate, and she would never say which issue or what.
Whoa.
Yeah, because everyone was trying to look it up, but everyone's like, all right, Coach Barnes.
Yeah.
Had a bag to playmate.
But
Wow.
then she was separated because when I did the episode, the mom had remarried a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
And was living on top of the hill.
Oh, that's a
Typical,
way
huh?
to save money. As you get older, right? You marry the plastic surgeon.
I'm still trying to find my plastic surgeon.
I got a good plastic surgeon joke.
Okay, let's start it, Danny.
All right, so this woman goes to see a plastic surgeon, and he's like going through the whole things, and she's saying she needs like to upgrade, and he says, well, you have the breasts of a 22-year-old and the face of maybe a 25-year-old. And then the husband asks, well, what did he say about the ass? And she said, she says, well, what did he say about the 60-year-old ass? She said, nothing. We didn't talk about you. You get it?
I don't want to get it.
Okay.
We should have checked with HR before we did that
probably.
You've been on fire lately, though, Danny.
I'm working on this comedian thing, actually. One of our last guests invited me to become, he said I could be a comedian with him.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go. No, so you just keep working on those jokes,
I'll
dude.
keep working on them.
I'm down.
Man, so you grew up in that area, but dude, like, Mammoth's windy. Like, how did you pick Mammoth to be the spot to break? Was 110-foot backflip, correct?
It was 100, and I've since gone 110.
Oh, you've since gone 110.
I was swinging for the fences saying I was going to go 150. I'm kind of over that, but I think 120 is kind of the next goal, because I built this ramp and set up at my property, and it's there, so I might as well run it. But anyways, with Mammoth, it was... Dude, it's hard to get funding for that. It's hard to have like a home for it. And then I had a partnership with Mammoth, and then Monster partnered with X Games. And then there was just like trifecta, and everything started unfolding really quick. Because actually the first year I got on Monster in 2011, that was one of my main goals. Like I had just flipped like a 60-foot dirt to dirt jump, and I'm like, I could flip 100 feet. Like I want to try to make this happen. And then it just took years, and it was just, seemed like nothing was happening. All of a sudden, just boom. And like, we're doing it at Mammoth. And there wasn't really any time for hesitation. I'm just like, we got it. Let's do it. And all the park crew there was so awesome to work with and help them build a jump. And they brought 2 airbags to jump into and, test the dirt lip. Cause I didn't want to do a ramp and scoot it back. I wanted it like dirt to dirt.
Dirt to dirt.
Yeah. So then they made, so the airbag was almost counterproductive though. I got ruined into that thing, but it was the luckiest moment of my life because the day before, like this time is scheduled out like months in advance, So like on Tuesday, whatever, at 7 o'clock you're dropping, and you have like a 10-minute wind window, maybe 15. And the day before, at that time, howling wind. The day after, ripping winds. So that day at 7 o'clock, dead calm. Like
7 a.m.
7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. at Mammoth at Canyon Lodge. Like thinking like it's always windy there.
Yeah.
Like I got so damn lucky, and I mean, probably would have done it anyway, but it was that was like, I don't know, someone was looking out for me for sure.
How fast did you have to go? What
It
was the speed?
It was 51.
51
mile an hour. And the craziest part about it is we figured out that because I've never used a radar gun. It was I thought it was kind of for show, and they had the highway sign and stuff. And I wasn't like looking at it like, am I going fast enough? Because, never in your life have you based anything off of a number. It's all like looking at the lip and the landing. But coming in, and it was every mile an hour was 6 feet, we figured out. So if you were 2 mile an hour off, you could case it by 12 feet or go. So like I actually unintentionally broke a record for longest dirt to dirt straight air, like 119 feet and something. So like, and that was just completely by accident. So and
that was just testing it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of a trip, man. Just to like see why things work in air pressure and like barometric pressure that you'd think like, oh, I'm just not riding it there. I came up shorter. I went long because I was right in my head. But like morning versus afternoon there, I will carry this forever, and I tell people, and they're kind of like dumbfounded by it. But in the mornings, I would sprint and tuck, and I could get going 49 like max, and that probably could have cleared it. But then in the afternoon, I'd take a couple pedals and stay up and like be open catching air, and I'd go like 52, 53. So like to have 4 or 5 mile an hour at 30 feet variance, at that 4 or 5 mile an hour, just from the different air pressure from morning, afternoon, same visor position, tire pressure, jersey, everything.
Oh, I see what's going on here. Cause I remember hearing like golfing at high elevation too. The ball will fly further, like in Mammoth. We do Bishop golfing, and I could drive it like 550 yards.
Tiger Woods style.
Yeah. But that's insane. You became a human golf ball. Yeah. Dude, how many times did you straight air this thing before you went for it?
And think about it, speaking of being a human golf ball, John Brankus was there doing the sports science. So I got...
Oh, they had that guy there.
Dude, that guy
breaking it down.
That guy was awesome, man. It was
I need to go rewatch that.
And one of my friends, Cam McCall, fellow pro mountain biker, he's like a huge fan. Is like, John Brankus. And anytime we'd be like, all right, what's the physics on this jump? How fast are we? He was like, help me, John Brankus. And then I got to have him like out and doing the full like episode.
What's he like on site? Does that make it more nervous for you, or is it like is that helping out?
I don't really, the more things that keep your brain occupied, the better, like you do everything you can, but then at some point you can't like overthink it. So it was, but it was one of those rare moments where you black out for sure. Like I remember fist bump. I got him to hire one of my buddies to film at the top and be the, top film guy. And then my other best friend to follow me in for the live POV.
And he hit the jump too, right?
No, he just went around it. But
did they have a drone following you?
No, that was him with the gyro stabilized like GoPro to a live feed. But just to have my two best friends up top and fist bump, and then like I literally blacked out, and then I was like, okay, landed like, oh, that was 3 months of work we put in. Like, oh, it's over. It's crazy. It just happened. Like those moments are cool. I'm sure you've had a few, like the proverbial zone, and you're very, very rare can you get that to where you're just like autopilot. Subconscious is doing everything, but those are the best moments you wish you could have kind of more of,
What's scarier, the straight air or the backflip?
Oh, flip for sure. There are a lot of people though, like the nitro dudes that like they'll usually just straight flip it, especially on a BMX bike. little squirrelier with smaller wheels, because the gyro of the wheels kind of stabilizes you. So heavier, bigger wheels on a mountain bike, they catch more wind, but they have, you have a little bit more mass. And
It's kind of the same with snowboarding. I think there's like a small gray area where straight airing is almost a little scarier.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the theory of that is, but like maybe it's you're thinking more.
Yeah, and you're kind of a sitting. I mean, you could probably shed a little more light on that than anyone, but I feel like it's like to the wheels and everything. And there's something to hold you up. But a snowboard, you're kind of at the mercy and more of a sitting duck, huh?
I mean, for me, I'm like Dingo said, I would spin jumps before really straight and narrowing them, like big ones. And I think it was just like the way you're like staring at what you're coming at makes it a little bit more intimidating, where when you spin, you're kind of like, all right, now I'm looking back.
Yeah.
Come around for the spot the landing a lot later.
Yeah.
But I like what you really said, because I've had that instance of like this where you put so much work into something.
Yeah.
And you're like, you do something crazy, and like same like the blackout moment. Because I've had a lot of times where I'd compete and take a half pipe run and I'd be like out of breath. And I get to the bottom and like I literally couldn't even remember the run I just did, because it was like so in the zone.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like trying to remember it. And it's like, I did something great. People are congratulating you and you're like trying to like relive it in your head, but you just can't like envision it.
That's awesome. And I don't know if there's something similar in snowboarding, but one of my favorite like subconscious moments, because I always love that like we overthink things and then you almost feel like you have to put more attention to it. But then in reality, you got muscle memory and you know how to ride a bike, you know, snowboard, then you kind of have to let things unfold. But I remember numerous times like doing a subconscious brake tap and like knowing, like thinking before this, when I hit this drop, I'm going to have to go full, balls out. I'm going to have to try to go as fast as I can. And then all of a sudden you contest run and then you hit your brakes and then you're like, wait, why did I hit my brakes? And then you grease it. Like your subconscious knew, but your frontal brain or whatever didn't, like was thinking wrong, like, oh, this is going to compute this way. But then your subconscious is like stronger, more powerful, and it won't fail you, I love that shit.
How long was the outrun? How'd you stop?
I mean, we got pretty good brakes. You can slow down pretty quick.
Just ran straight into Canyon Lodge, dude.
Boom! I didn't know if like they'd set up the water skim thing for you to just kind of ride into or
Dude,
something,
Just hop on a paddle board and rip across the pond.
It was the end of the season. Mammoth had the pond skim up. They said, just land and just see if you can coast that thing too, dude. We'll break 2 records.
I gotta thank you big time, because at that time I remember being in a monster meeting. And randomly, I went to headquarters while they're having this round table, and they were talking about all these different world records. And they were like, all right, what about you? What world record do you want to break? And I'm like, let's go back to the Cam one. Let's talk about that, because I wasn't ready to break that world record.
I mean, it's pretty daunting, right? Like, would it be high air or something, like the Terrier record or something? Or
yeah, I mean, probably the highest air for sure. I mean, that I would go after, or just the longest, spinniest thing. I don't know. I'm scared of world records. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of
the old like how many kickflips you do in a road record. That one's been taken.
Yeah, I was like, all right, we can't do that. I'm like, I'm kind of more on the Tony Hawk thing. Like, hey, I'll just do 540s all the way through the pipe, and we'll just make like a 1,000,000-foot half pipe.
Yeah,
and I'll do like a 900 at 50, and then like just chilling.
I got a cab 1080. 39. I'm gonna bring it back for 40.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you still got that?
Oh, it's coming.
Do you like spinning cab better than backside, or like what's your
way
favorite?
Better than backside? I just like love there's something about gripping the toe edge, and for me releasing off of it, it's just I don't know how fast I'm going, so I can keep going bigger and bigger, a little bit switch, where regular I kind of have a bit of a more gauge on like, okay, this is fast or something. I don't know.
Do you spin cab off your toes always?
Not always, but on jumps I'll do it, which is kind of a little bit old school, where a lot of people will kind of like slide off their heels and get some big spins. But
I always thought like frontside spins off your toes are dope, but I always sucked at them.
It's the best feeling because you just pop so hard.
It's like back.
Boom.
Because like when I like started spinning frontside, like it was off. I learned off my heels.
Okay.
And then like, because it was like toes were like the in thing in the 90s, and then the early 2000s it came to heels. Now kids just, I think they can do it every way.
Yeah.
Dude, kids now are doing backside spins off their heels. I still can't comprehend that.
Well, backside rodeo, right?
Yeah, but like
Yep.
a flat spin.
Yeah,
so
okay.
like you hit like a backside spin, and rather than digging off your toes and just they literally rock onto the heels and then do this like lofty like cork backsides. It's scary as fuck.
Dingo
sounds
used to be our
terrifying.
guinea pig. And there'd be like a lot of times we'd roll
Straight
to
up,
like
though.
67-foot jumps. And I'm like, let's send Dingo in.
That's
For whatever
awesome.
reason,
And he'd
like,
like frontside 7, huge jumps.
That's
yeah,
sick.
for whatever reason, I could look, and the whole thing with that is you just don't want to come up short.
Yeah.
Like usually, like it's very hard to overshoot a jump that big, right? So
Yeah.
it's like more so just if you think you've got the
But-
speed, just go a little faster.
But when people do OJ stuff like that,
You're fucked.
yeah.
And that's where like where your situation comes into it more. Like looking at that, and that's why I was like asking like whether the straight air or the backflip was scarier, because I feel like a straight air, you're just looking at it the whole, and you're up there for seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's like grew up a racer, and I feel like there's like a different kind of focus on bike control versus the next trick, you know? So I think I've never ever thought it would be easier to do a trick off of a jump or a drop or a step down or anything, because I was super comfortable straight airing it. But there are a lot of people like that. They've put most of their life in training and trying to build up these tricks rather than like they kind of skip a step of having more like bike control, you know?
Yep.
And riding new stuff all the time and riding down old trails, and you know, you find a gap like split second to pop. Like I think there's nothing wrong with it, and I kind of wish that I had better tricks or more tricks, I guess. But I do appreciate more people that just have like a better bike control rather than, you know, the next thing. But like I was saying about the nitro thing, I think most of the BMXers will flip it and not straight air it, you know, and it's, you know, 40, 50 feet or something.
Yep.
And they first run will flip rather than just straight air. And I can't really comprehend that. I'm sure I've FT'd some stuff
Yep.
but I can't imagine.
And I'm sure those guys now too, it's like they do that thing fucking 3-4 times a week now. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm sure most of those guys, it's just like waking up. All
Yeah.
right, what's today again? Yep, gonna do another
Yeah.
takeoff. And I think the takeoff changes too much. I think maybe they did that like World Games thing where they added the soft landing. And I don't know if you saw that, but like
Yeah.
where they had the BMX guys doing like triples and like the moto guys, like they were like 60, 70, 75 feet in the air. And that shit's like, I can't comprehend that either.
Yeah. They're one of the younger kids that, you know, we think of them as being the next generation, and they're like, you know, they got it figured out and they're going to be so much better than us. And I think he was like 18 at the time. And he was like, dude, you think we might have the new software, but the kids that are like 14 right now have completely new hardware. And you look at the girls that are like 9 years old and ripping bowls on a skateboard and air, like, it's insane what kids under 10 are doing right now.
Yeah.
Like vert ramps and snowboarding and skateboarding and bikes and everything. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's like the resurge of it, you know? I think that like vert's been around forever, but now this thing with the Olympics of both, it's been in snow now since 98, but like with skateboarding and BMX freestyle coming into the Olympics, you're seeing this whole new surge of park skaters and BMXs. And then also park and street, and it is wild. You're like literally watching 9-year-old kids like shred,
and it just shows what was possible all along. If like, you know, I think a lot of it's even just your parents put like, you know, this is okay, let's get them into it, let's give them a little encouragement at a young age, you know, because they're like, they could be an Olympian. This isn't a dead-end sport, become a lawyer kind of talk. You know, they're just like, you know, blossom into an Olympian. This sport, if you can become an Olympian in the local skate park, do it.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind. Like, it's crazy. Like you're saying with the younger kids in skating too, like you see this huge gap in age on like the mega ramp stuff.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be like, imagine being a parent and being like, yeah, I'm going to have my kid learn like a backside 900 today
or a
on
cab
a mega
10.
quarter. You're like, wait, what? Like, you got to be a sick parent, I feel like, a little bit to be pushing your kids into some of this stuff, you know?
Dude, I can't. I mean, I haven't even ridden the mega ramp. It's always chained up at Woodward. Never felt like even just bothering anyone to ride it, you know. But the jumps, whatever. But the quarter pipe is ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. Like I bet I could air maybe head high and be terrified of it.
Terrified.
And then and meanwhile, you got like, what was the younger kid that did the cab 10? I think Mitchie Brusco did one, but then there was another kid that just did it on vert. But like, think about being 10, 12 years old. Yeah.
The Brazilian kid. Guy.
Yeah. Dude, coming in switch, let alone, and then cab 10ing 15 feet
It's
out.
too much pressure, right? Like, where do you go when you're 19? You're expected to have this 1800 on a
That's it. I
quarter
was just
pipe,
with
you
Ian.
know? You don't want to peak too early, and if you're peaking at 12, like that's insane. We're starting to make like child actors out of action sports in a way. You know?
Seriously.
I was just in Japan for X Games, and I was hanging out with Key, the Brazilian kid that did it. And there's the questions I started asking him. I was like, so what's it like, you know, are you cool in school? Are you not cool? Do kids like you? Do they not like you? Like,
yeah.
Because he's in Brazil. He's kind of a superstar there, or he's a young superstar of the sport. But it was just like what do kids think of you when you're like, oh, I just went to California skate ramp and did the first 1080 or the 1080, and they got me next to Tony Hawk. And he was like, no, I'm cool in school.
And then I still came home and got a D on my history test. Or whatever. You know, like it's so crazy to think about the normal. They're still a kid and they still have to go through all the motions of being a kid, but then they're doing something adults couldn't fathom.
Yeah.
And being under pressure like that in the spotlight, I mean, dude, again, new hardware.
So you grew up in somewhat Reno, Carson City.
Yeah.
Did you grow up skiing and snowboarding too?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been, when I was, 14 to 15, like we had a little snowboard gang, you know, and I wanted to be a pro snowboarder too. And, I never really did much more than like a front seven but like backside rodeos are always my favorite trick. And it's kind of funny that like a cash roll on a bike is really reminiscent of that. Like you lock the back brake, kind of like catching your heels.
Yep.
And you roll it like but it'd be like a back rodeo 7, but you're spinning
I love
forward,
the way that trick looks on a bike, because it's like you see him drop that front shoulder. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a fronty and backside rodeos you think of being a backflip, but you're kind of just going 90 and then going backflip, you know?
Can you actually lock the brakes up coming off to do that
there's some BMXers that run brakeless and don't do it, but yeah, you wait till your front wheel's like at the top or a little off the top and just grab rear brake. It gives you a little kick, and then, you know, it feels honestly like backside rodeo. It's pretty sick. But yeah, that's
Dingo wouldn't know what that feels like, really.
I can't never done a backside
rodeo.
Oh,
no way.
No.
It's kind of funny. That was always my favorite trick, and I like it worked for me, but
you know what's funny is like we had like an airbag with Steve Aoki.
You never know. Some people like they don't have like there's some trick.
Dude, I tried to learn into the airbag and I created some trick that remember we had the airbag with Aoki?
Oh yeah, when we were shredding with Aoki and a mini Chloe Kim. You were trying to show off for little Chloe.
Baby Chloe Kim.
Yep.
I was not.
How old was she then?
I don't know.
It was like 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. She.
How old is she now? 20?
21. She got to be 21 by now. She might
Crazy.
be 22. Because I think when she won her first Olympics, she was 18. She did the college thing, so
yeah,
she's probably 22. But this was 2000, I believe, 15, 16.
But it was a funny day because get to see Steve Aoki like jump into an airbag.
He wanted to learn backflips.
It was so fun.
Oh, no way.
And then like he would go so slow and he'd almost like miss the gap.
Yeah.
So like he was trying to learn backflips into the airbag, but he was going so slow. Like you were afraid he was like just going to fall in the hole.
Or hit his head on the lip or something.
Yeah. But you know what? In credit to him, he's now like, I don't know if he's landed a rodeo. That was his goal, to like learn like backflips and then rodeos. But I believe he's landed a rodeo on snow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go Steve Aoki. Dude.
Yeah. Like he's just kind of like an adrenaline junkie. And I think he grew up skateboarding a little bit. He grew up going to Big Bear, and then obviously had crazy success and fame. And then once he hit that, you could tell that he wanted to go back to that adrenaline side of his life, because you have all these peaks. And as you guys both know, like once you hit it, you want more. And I think he went back to his adrenaline side. Like he built almost like a Robin Big style or Fantasy Factory kind of house in Vegas, and there's a huge pool drop and the trampolines, and he spent a lot of money on that. And when he came to us, we brought the Monster airbag to him. Like he wanted to learn backflips, and the goal was to learn a rodeo on snow.
Sick.
And I believe he got there. I think he did it in Japan. Like I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years later he did like a rodeo on snow, landed it, and then and rode away. So it's cool to see people. And that was funny because we're teaching Steve Aoki how to do backflips. Chloe Kim kind of comes up, is hanging out. So you've got Chloe Kim, Steve Aoki, and then her dad's there, and her dad's basically at that time talking to Steve about all right, so do we go with CAA? Do we go with William Morris? What agency do we do? What kind of deals? How do we do? And that was back then.
Dude, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one.
I was more interested in that conversation.
That's pretty damn cool. Dude, those are the kind of people that you'd like to hang out with just for the fact that they spend their money on cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you'd think. If I was a DJ, that's what I'd be doing, or you'd like to think so.
Like the cool thing is like we did like Christmas one year with me and Danny. We got dressed in these like Santa Claus outfits and we like were giving away like product or food. I forget what we were doing.
We were clearing out an old warehouse that I wasn't going to keep anymore. So we literally drove the motorhome filled with just swag. We had VHSs from like 12 years ago. And we had this bet where we decided, let's see who can wear this Santa suit the longest. So me and Dingo for 4 days around Mammoth are wearing the Santa suit. We're going out and eating like dinner together at the restaurant, like just with each other.
Was this in
Santa
the show?
Suits.
Nah.
No, we made a video called, I think, a Grenade Christmas.
Okay.
Where we and then we put a few other snowboarders in the thing and did a little park edit. But
the funny thing with the show was we would still do the same shit we would do on the show off the show. We would just
that's
why it was authentic, and that's why it worked.
It was a personal bet for like, I think it was like $100 we made this stupid bet. But then there'd be a part in the we'd finish dinner and I'd be like, all right, you want to go to the bar? And he's like, no, not in this. And I'm like, all right, well, I want to go. So I'd like show up by myself. And then I just bring the whole bar back home and Dingo would be like, not again. There'd be like 13 people like piling into the condo and he's on the couch in his Santa suit, like watching TV.
But also that Christmas, Steve Aoki and Little John did their family Christmas together up there, and we were just a part of their Christmas. It was
Sick.
Insane. Like Aoki's mom cooking us dinner, me and Danny just playing charades with the Aoki and Little John's family in our Santa Claus outfits.
How's Lil Jon, dude? I haven't heard about him in a while, but that seemed like a ripping dude to hang out with.
He's still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
He still says, yeah, and what?
Dude, he's
and DJs and crushing it, still produces. He's still literally doing what he was doing 20 years ago, making the same money. He's like just kind of forever found his spot.
Bitching.
But that's like one of the raddest things, with like, the action sports and the sports we get to do. It's like, these people come from all over and they just want to do that. Like Little John goes on trips snowboarding with like Shorty Put. It's just him and Shorty Put in like Park City.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's the joy of like,
we took him to
action sports, bringing all these like random people together,
Especially nowadays too. Everything's becoming like with the parents, and it's okay. It's like more acceptable to have tattoos or something. It's more acceptable to be a snowboarder. It's more like there's I don't know. It's becoming more accessible. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate it. I liked it when we were all badass.
Yeah, but that's just like life, right? I think it's like
everyone figured out, dude. It's like Reno. I always said the Reno 911 keeps the kooks out, but then sooner or later, everyone's like, all right, this place is actually pretty dope.
Right, the kooks come back.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, what we've known the whole time, and like same thing with snowboarding and bikes and everything. Like you knew how sick it was, and that's why you devoted your life to it. But then everyone's like, oh, let me just get some of that. Oh, let me come in. And you're like, all right, this might be a little too much now. But it's life.
Dude, so so you grew up you were a racer?
Yeah.
Like a mountain bike racer, like a dual.
Yeah.
I don't think I've even seen that.
Slalom and downhill. Slalom's kind of like mogul skiing, but just timed. It's like 2 parallel courses. And then first rider starts the clock, second rider stops it. You go back at the top, switch courses, and you have to beat that time.
Yep.
So it's the most competitive form of mountain biking or like best spectator sport and best racing, because you like if it's like motocross style or BMX, there's only like 1 or 2 maybe corners. It's not like you have a long race with a throttle. Like it's the best form of racing, and it's always been my favorite. But even though I suck at it now, but I was pretty good at it when I was younger. And then downhill racing. But I wanted to be Sean Palmer.
Oh yeah,
you know about him.
Oh my God, dude, when we had our little place in June.
You were in his movie in The Miserable Champ, and it's like there's Danny Cass giving him some props.
Oh man, he came and like we had a little skate shop in June, and it was like a coming of age when Palmer came, and he was like shotgunning beers, and he was doing like boneless plants all the way up into the wall. We were like, whoa,
dude! The fact that he can skate a vert ramp still blows me away. Like the fact, like he's done everything. You're like, well, but then you like, oh crap, he actually could skate too.
And like also, I mean, just like the cross, like just being such an athlete, right? Because it's one thing to be specialized in snowboarding and border cross in his instance, right towards the end. But then like I didn't even know it until I went back and actually watched these like mountain bike videos of him. And I was like, holy crap. Like, dude, he changed the sport. All the racers would still be wearing Lycra for him. Like
that's wild, eh?
He brought in motocross gear and, won.
But he like did it, right? It wasn't like he won a World Cup. He
He was the epitome of the industry. Like he was the man. Like,
and did you get to like see him race in some of those early years and stuff?
Dude, I remember being,
because he's a Tahoe guy
at Mammoth. I remember being the nationals for mountain biking were so big then, and then the organization kind of ate themselves to death. But they the pits were as big as a Supercross race, or bigger, because it was more spectator friendly, and there's more like vendors and stuff. Like GT and these companies had semis, and then Specialized had a semi, and then next to it was Palmer's bus, like custom painted, sick Troy Lee Designs bus with his own pit in the pits. Like it was larger than life, and if it weren't for that, I might not have like been like, this is what I want to do. You know, I was like, I want to be like that guy. I want to hang out with that dude in that bus.
It's so cool because like it's I forget what year it was, but he won like USA Sports Today Sports Person of the Year. Like
yes, he won. Yeah, USA Today said the world's greatest athlete ? But like front page, and he won an SB for best athlete and whatnot. And like, it's ridiculous.
And it was crazy because like the mountain bike thing was happening around the same time, and I think there was an era there where like snowboarding kind of like was like, oh, you're not cool anymore because you did this bordercross thing and the Palmer snowboards thing, and it wasn't cool to like ride Palmer snowboards. But while that was kind of happening, the mountain bike thing, and he was like changing a whole industry, like rebuilding a whole industry. And it's like, I think Palmer in the early days of snowboarding, Sean Palmer, like there's no one more badass than him, no one more Tahoe than him. And he did it all. And then there was a minute there where like the bordercross thing was somewhat kooky. I think in the end there, it's like, you know, like, fuck, dude, like, it was the Olympics, dude, like, I don't want to date myself, but I feel like it was either 2010 or 2014. Like, he made the team and then fell through a window.
Tore his Achilles,
You know, like, so he was goddamn mid-40s, like, still ripping.
Yeah. Dude, and then he had another opportunity and missed it by like one spot or something. But I remember hearing that he said it really early on, because he essentially invented bordercross. He was like, because he just loved motocross and snowboarding so much. He's like, this thing's gonna be in Olympics one day. I'm gonna be too damn old. And then he was too damn old and still almost did it, like numerous 4-year gaps. Pretty phenomenal. But I mean, making a main into Supercross and qualifying for an outdoor national and then winning snowmobile X Games and then skier cross X Games and then all the same year winning a World Cup in mountain biking, ridiculous. And being able to skate a vert ramp, and like, I think that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah. You know, and that Palmer boards became massive.
Yeah, and I think
in Europe. It was.
I don't think he really got anything from it. I think he got kind of screwed on that deal, but yeah.
I think there's so many funny Palmer stories, like through his decision making and just like
I've heard
his philosophy of like deals, and like we shared a same sports agent for a while, so I would just hear like these legendary deals, and I would throw crazy ideas at him too, and he'd be like, wouldn't even flinch, because he's like, yeah, I worked with Palmer for 10 years. Like, he told me a story where like he was trying to get a sponsor, and Palmer made the guy show up with like $100,000 or $50,000 in a briefcase, even though like it was just like whatever part of the deal. And he's like, sorry, like that's the only way he's gonna do it. And the guy's like, well, like I don't know, like what? And then,
I want that, dude. That's,
and
the audacity is like, but to be able to do that with conviction and just get away with it for however many years is pretty bitching.
Yeah, well, I guess the industry had no choice. He was larger than life.
Yeah.
And it's people like that, Jimmy Halapoff and people like that whole, like, like, it wasn't Krusty's, it was, why have I just blanked?
Yeah, Krusty Demons of Dirt and
stuff.
stuff.
It was Krusty Demons.
Whiskey.
Whiskey. That whole whiskey.
If you haven't seen Whiskey 3, get out there and watch that video.
But it was that whole.
I bet it's on YouTube now, huh?
Oh yeah, it's all on YouTube.
But it was that, like, that moment that captured what the industry was at the time, and god damn it, has it, like, even like, I think like we were just with Heldor the other week, and I think we were lucky in a sense that like we still were able to get away and do a lot of the antics we did, because like it was still we were still somewhat internet. The end of our run, the internet had become big, and Twitter and Instagram had somewhat Twitter was big, in the high run of our show. But now it's like those kids just kind of the industry just looks at you can't do that anymore. The industry looks at you as you've got to be somewhat not picture perfect, but like a bad boy and an athlete. Like there's been like a crossroad, which is a sad moment, because like I think we were all built from the fun side.
I'm a product of my environment too, and that's where, and I have to reel it in, you know, like that's where it's always, and it just evolving with the world period, you know, and everything is going on outside of your sport, but then it affecting it. I mean, it's just constantly navigating it and evolving. And like, you've had well over a 20-year career, you know, so you've evolved with the sport, and I'm right around 20 since my first pro event. Yeah, I'm a 20-year career now. So to navigate all that, and a lot of slaps on the wrist and a few like more than slaps, you know, but just
slapped in the face.
Yeah, you got you get slapped in the face by sponsors sometimes, but it's part of growing, I guess, part of evolving with the sport. Otherwise you can be like, I don't know, I guess you could be like Paul and say like, fuck this, like kind of when keeping it real goes wrong or something, you know, you're just like, I'm out. But that's an honorable way to go for sure. But I guess just trying to keep it going, you got to kind of tread lightly here and there, and just the way it goes.
How was the transition as a kid? Obviously racing was kind of what you grew up doing. How was the transition into, you know, freestyle and jumping down cliffs and being like, hey, like I want to make this a thing?
Well, I think it was probably one of the coolest parts of when I grew up, and just timing is everything, you know, because it's no one else will really be able to experience the beginning of this genre of the sport, you know. Like there were some predecessors of like Richie Schley and Tippy and Wade Simmons, these dudes that were like started kind of jumping off cliffs. And Bender, I'm sure you've heard of Bender, the guy he'd jump off, he was jumping off like 40-foot cliffs and eating shit probably over half the time in like 99 with motorcycle boots on and stuff. So there was like some people, but then like we were at the very first mountain bike slopestyle contest, and then I couldn't get into the first Rampage because I didn't have a big enough name. But then it was third year I got in, I've done everyone. So like to be at the beginning of these events and then help actually shape the sport to like whatever we want, you know, take influence from snowboarding and motocross and surfing or whatever else, and BMX of course, but to have the opportunity to leave your mark on it and literally help shape the trajectory of it is like the greatest bit of timing I could have asked for, you know?
Yeah.
Like we don't make the money that like, we'll now make better money than we did when we were a kid, you know? And the kids that are coming up doing their first contest are making more than we were in our first. Yeah. So like we weren't like compensated for it, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because like we have, you know, we got to experience something that was better than any monetary value.
Pioneers, dude. Pioneers always look back on things and I think have a way better time than the people that come in and are just part of. It's great.
It's snowboarding. Yeah. Like, and then I guess UFC, there's been a lot of fighters that have been a little bit more, I don't know, vocal about pride versus UFC in earlier days, and the people that were making no money, they liked it better because they're in it for the right reasons, you know? Yeah. Like you're in it because you love it and you are going to devote your life to the sport and help change it, and you just want to do it regardless of how much someone's going to pay you. But now, you know, people are actually getting into a lot of these sports just for money or the Olympic dream or whatever, but to like be completely authentic and humble and just in it for the right reasons is like, you can't replicate that.
No. Not at all. And it's like, and like, you know, it's you'll look back on it on time, or maybe even see it now. It's just cool to show up and you see the evolution, and you, like you said, that the product they ride or, you know, wear has got better, and the evolution of it. It's not that they couldn't always do it. It's somebody had to like pave the way, and now that those things have happened, it takes it to a new level. With mountain biking, or like, it's kind of scary though. Like, man, like I've done a lot of things. One of the scariest things I've ever done is ride a mountain bike down a mountain.
Oh, I hear that. I just did it actually for like the first time of like really downhilling.
Seriously. And
yeah.
You've lived in Mammoth this long.
I couldn't focus. My head was shaking so much, and I'm like pulling the brakes, and I like couldn't even see where I was going. And it's funny because I showed up and my buddy's like, yo, you're not riding that like K2 bike. I had like it was like 30 years old or, you know, at this point. He's like, you're going to ride my girlfriend's bike. I'm like, okay. You know?
Yeah, dude, I can't believe that you haven't ridden more being a Mammoth. Mammoth's like my favorite bike park. Like it's not the most world renowned as far as it is for snowboarding. Like Whistler is the best ever, and then there's other ones
for mountain bikes.
Yeah, but
that's where the big competition happens, right?
Yeah. Whistler Crankworks, and it's legendary, and it's the biggest, best, most money put into it, most trails. But I love riding Mammoth. It's almost just because it's like the kitty litter. It's like soft, and I grew up racing there. But Mammoth's pretty bitching for mountain biking. But dude, it's like, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that show up on a snowboard and be like, dude, just change your foot or something, and then they're like, oh, you changed my life. I bet with your bike setup, or we could change your whole experience as far as like just maybe a click in the knob.
I think I would need like a shot of adrenaline and like something else. But I think it was so cool because like, yeah, growing up in Mammoth and just the whole like getting to see this mountain bike explosion. Like I was really proud to see like these resorts actually like turn the lifts on in the summer. And that was huge to see, like people just like, you're going to the top of the mountain, and in the winter, you know, like I could get it top to bottom in like 7-8 minutes. You know, you take a bike up there, it's like a whole nother story coming down the hill.
If you take the Kamikaze, the fire road, you could do that in under 7 minutes. I think it's like 4 or 5 minutes even.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Dude, they were racing that in... Dude, that was another reason.
You can't just slide out on a bike. You're on a bike, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I got taken mountain biking maybe, I don't know, 08, 09 or something for the first time, and like I remember like getting to the top, I was like, "Fuck you!" Like just like dead, like whatever. But I pedaled up this thing crazy, like a big hill, and then he's like, "All right, time to go down." By the time we got to the bottom, I was like, "I'll ride up any day." Like going down, and that was the first time I ever did it. But going down, like you just anything you can go down at any moment, and I feel like when you guys go down, you go down.
Yes. So this is another like thing I try to just keep, I don't know, close to the, you know, daily operations, I guess. But I had a good friend pass away, Jordy Lunn, and it was on a 2 years ago. And it was just on a normal trail ride. Like this dude has done the gnarliest shit you could ever imagine, lived like some of the most burly segments. And I don't know if you ever saw someone ride down a vertical tree to a tight little tranny at the bottom, like, what's it called? Rough AF. Look, Google it or YouTube it. But he died riding like a normal trail ride and just misjudged, like thought there was like a gap or it wasn't a gap, and then put his front wheel into it, head injury, dead. Like, and then Darren Bearcloth, really good friend, just broke his neck like 3 days ago. Not paralyzed, luckily, but on a trail ride, normal trail ride, done the gnarliest shit you could ever imagine, and then just puts into perspective how dangerous just mountain biking is, period. And we're so used to like pushing the limits of it. They're like, oh, it's going on a trail ride, it's going to be mellow. And like, but you still get going 30 mile an hour through trees sometimes on a with a little half lid, you know?
Yep.
So but it also puts into perspective how dangerous daily life is, and just like walking off a curb and getting hit by a car. So
you can't play it safe because either way, you know, like, but it's like you say, it's like those simple, those times where you're not really like pushing your own limits that, you know, kind of show the dangerousness of all these different action sports, you know. And
so to be focused and enjoy that moment, try to get to the proverbial zone and try to like do things with conviction and just be 100% confident and focused is like where you want to be anyway. So, but it's obviously hard to do 100% of the time, but I guess that's the goal, right?
I guess so.
Hell yeah, live life on the edge.
Stay on those two wheels.
You know,
dude,
like I've always felt like, you know, there's a couple of our like Axel Hodges is super into it. His brother Austin is. Sage Kutzenberg, Zach Hale, a bunch of our snowboarders have become super into mountain biking.
Yeah.
They live, well, Axel's obviously here, but those guys live up in Park City. And it seems like Park City's got like a pretty good like terrain. And I think Zach flips. I don't think Sage does.
That's awesome.
Zach flips.
Dude, it's such a cool time as far as like partly thanks to Palm and partly just the evolution of the bike, period. Like the bikes are like your average $2,000 lower end like good bike, you know, not like a Walmart one or something, but like the lower one you'd get like at a sport outlet is still a really good bike now. It's better than like a $10,000 bike was like 8 years ago, you know?
Well, I think this is an important thing to like for people to hear, because I see like these mountain bike prices and you're like, whoa, that's like a $10,000 bike.
Yeah.
But it's cool to hear you like kind of like throw it in the ballpark where like, hey,
dude, and still $2,000 is more than you're gonna spend on snowboard gear, you know, but you can go ride every day for free, you know, and a little wear and tear on the tires and your brake pads or whatever, but it's pretty much free if you want after that. So
Skiing
to spend
and snowboarding, not.
Yeah, to spend $2,500 on a bike, like you could get a really good bike nowadays. And it usually just comes down to being a hair heavier. Maybe the suspension isn't quite as good, but you could set that bike up dope and be really, really good on it and have the time of your life. And it's just probably a little heavier, like a pound or two heavier than the $10,000 version.
So you're telling me I could spend like $2,500, get a setup, and I'd be ready for Rampage?
Well, if you
No, I'm just kidding.
but dude,
I'm ready to go watch some
So
Rampage.
that whole record you broke, Danny's goal is to break your record.
No, not at all.
But dude, all jokes aside,
in a helicopter.
All jokes aside, though, I think that you could, I know you absolutely could do, depending on, because you build your own line. You can go as big as you want or as small as you want. You could ride like a moderate Rampage line on a $2,500 bike, no problem. Like it would hold up. You want to stiffen up the suspension and stuff like that, but you could. It's a pretty bitchin' time for mountain biking just for that. And then the whole like trifecta of the trails being better, more accessible, the industry being cooler and more well perceived from like Axel and all these and you guys and all these other sports that we always looked up when we felt like we're on the outskirts, kind of just because it wasn't on Fuel TV, it wasn't a core sport, you know. So to have it respected from these other industries and like that are fairly similar. And then just, trails, gear, bikes, image, like all that whole trifecta like the sport's awesome right now. It's amazing.
Well, I guess it's got, the nod that it deserves. Whereas you're right. You probably, when you were younger, you're right. It wasn't on Fuel TV. It didn't have these outlets. Maybe at the end there it was, but it just didn't have the outlet,
It is now. Do you know Fuel TV's back?
Yeah, they keep emailing me.
We're coming back. We're gonna be like we're gonna be like Bill and Ted. We're gonna make a movie. I keep telling people in a few years we're gonna do like a 2-hour movie or episode.
Dude, I want to be involved.
Yeah,
we want you involved. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you're in the. You got to be born within like a certain radius of Mammoth, and I think you fit you're in.
Which one was Keanu? Was Bill Keanu?
Oh, I would probably be Keanu.
That's what I was saying. Which one was he, Bill or Ted?
I think he was Bill.
Bill.
So Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if we could actually get those dudes for the intro of the show.
We might be
That'd
able
be
to.
hilarious.
I bet they know who you are.
I've met Keanu Reeves. I sat next to him, and he comes to races, but I sat next to him at a dinner once. So
sick.
I think he might remember who I am. But
well, you're a hard one to forget. He probably still has like dreams of your laugh. Like he'll be like, "What was that?"
It was
comes up.
And then I saw him at a NASCAR and I took a selfie with him, and that selfie got a lot of likes.
Sick.
But he's like a super. He's like a super car. He's just like a moto. You see him in LA, just riding a motorbike around. Like he might be down. One other thing I wanted to say, because these things get shorter and shorter because we have fun. You like transcended and similar. I was talking about Sage a second ago, but you kind of like were able to reach a pinnacle of like contest competing, but then take a step back and like kind of go into a sense. I don't know if it's called the backcountry, but like just kind of do more filming style projects with Sandbox and whatnot. Not many people have done that before you too, right?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of everyone's dream, and it's kind of amazing that it's just complete parallel with snowboarding and skiing. Like you gain the knowledge, and then you get, it takes a lot of experience to hit things blind and know the speed without actually doing it or someone doing it before you. Same with like knowing the terrain and snowboarding. So it's pretty awesome that there's just that perfect parallel of experience comes getting out to like heavier stuff, but like stuff that requires more knowledge and wisdom and time on the bike. But it's kind of like slopestyle is a young man's game, and I was the last one of the original class of 04 was our first Crankworks slopestyle. And it was Cam McCall, Paul Bass, Kyle Strait, Darren Bearcloth, and I. And sorry if there's other, but like the 5 or 6 of us were at all the events and winning, the first couple years, like one of us were winning everything, and then I was stuck around the longest. And at the end I was like kind of miserable at it. Like it evolves more into gymnastics, just like snowboarding. And then you're not having as much fun, but I just kind of stuck it out as long as I could until God, I can't even remember what year was my last one. I think like 16 or something. But then Rampage, I will always, that's the only one I really care about anymore. And that's that, because you can create your own course. You can go as big as you want. You could go as fast as you want. You could build the biggest tombstone hip ever. You could drop the biggest cliff. Whatever you want to do, you can do out there. Not just you show up and then here's the course that you're going to ride. It might suck, it might not, and then you're going to have to do 20 whirly birds and a couple bar spins to like it's not to downplay, like it's ridiculous now. And I just it's I guess it was time to go, and naturally that's what happens in other sports too. You go to the stuff where you can your wisdom can be appreciated, or it can you can flourish with the things that you've accumulated the whole time. And not have to be as snappy, I guess.
That's one thing I wanted to ask about, is seeing that course. Cause for a long time in snowboarding, we had what they called the snowboarder super park. Uh-huh. And I remember as I remember late teenager, showing up, and you'd be like, holy, you'd look at these huge jumps. Right. And you'd be like, for me to be like, all right, I'm just hoping to hit 2 or 3 of these features and survive the week. Cause you see a lot of carnage, right, going down in that week long. And I have a feeling Rampage has got to be the same, where you show up and you're like, all right, that gap looks impossible or whatever. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to go, and you just pick your features, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, there are no features. It's all blank. You start here, end here. Go out on the ridges or down the gut, wherever you want to go build. You have 9 days to dig.
So you guys get there and they choose a different place, and then you build all those things.
We build everything.
Wow. Okay, because when you see it, the footage of it, it kind of almost looks like it's just there. You show up and there's this.
Well, there has been that in the past, to where the year I won it was mainly from the 360 off the Oakley drop, which was pre-built. And then after 2013, then all pre-built features went away, and it was just it's a natural like check and balance. They didn't have any rules at first, and then figured out after it rained that the dirt there is amazing, so you put some water and you can build whatever you want. You don't have to land in powder on a bike. Doesn't really work out too well.
Nah.
You
don't just lean back and just squirrely out of that
wouldn't it be nice?
Engage ski front wheel.
But we can FT sometimes. I always look for it, because there's nothing cooler than just scraping off the edge of a lip or a drop, and then just if it's you could sink in a little bit, but it can't be completely deep. But that's the thing I always look for, just because I love snowboarding so much, and an FT is the holy grail. It happens so little in mountain biking, but always on the lookout for them.
Dumb question. Are your tires a little flatter, or are they pumped up?
No, we run pretty standard pressure. Usually you'd run 30 to 30. I usually run 31 and then 37 in the back, and which is just a little higher than a lot of people would race on. An average person, they usually probably run mid-20s. But the only reason I'm stiffer is if you're carving off of a lip or going to spin or something, and say your tire folded, you're fucked. So to have, you want to run it a nice balance between it not carving off of a big takeoff or a landing, but then soft enough to be able to have some traction. But BMXers run 60 to 100 psi or whatever, because they don't, the tire is just going to grip, and you're not going over inundations and stuff and gripping a rock. So pretty standard, just a hair higher than the average mountain bike.
Yeah. Did you want to know that question?
You
were itching to ask.
I already knew it.
You knew the answer from
No, I didn't know.
K2
I'm thinking of last time I actually, I have, huge respect to that and what you do, because I'm always driving between Mammoth and Colorado a lot. Uh-huh. And I'll be in these places in Utah and Nevada, because those are between Colorado. But I'm just looking at all this natural terrain. I just freaking dream about it, because you see all these different features where you're that looks like a perfect 15-foot cliff drop and all this stuff,
Yeah, and it's the hardest part about biking is, and having that mindset and always seeing it, you get closer, okay, that isn't softer dirt or smaller granules. Those are the whole hill's made up with baby heads. And
Baby heads are bad. You don't want to ride your bike over baby heads.
I don't know about baby heads.
Baby heads are bad.
Big rocks.
Like,
look smooth.
just rocks.
So I got a great baby head story about a car.
Uh-oh.
Driving up to Big Bear, and I had Louis Vito in the car with me, driving up. This is back when I had a Dodge Magnum, Hemi, brand new rims on it. And I used to for whatever reason, I'd see like snowballs and I'd turn and hit them and they'd like explode. And driving up to Big Bear, and I was like, "Oh, Louis!" And I pinned this fucking one I thought was a snowball, and it was not a snowball; it was a rock, and it hit the middle of this rock that was like a big boulder that looked white, but it wasn't, and it just disintegrated my rim. So, yeah, baby heads.
You got to stay away from them. But I think like one also
Louis the whole time was probably like, "That's what are you doing? That's not like he probably like, no, he thought it was
It was great. It was an experience because then we were stuck on the side of the road. I had no car, no service. Had to like wave someone down. I think the Magnums lived in Big Bear for like a couple months. That car lived everywhere.
I liked that car. One time I took it from Vegas to Mammoth. Wow.
Speaking of Little John tried to buy that car.
No way.
Just recently.
Nah, like
still got the Magnum?
he blue booked it and was like, "Hey, this is what I'll give you." And I was like, "To be honest, you're a friend." He was trying to buy it for his son. And I was like, "To be honest, like this car hasn't been driven in so long that the insides have like started to rot out." So like the guy that ended up selling the car was the guy that I bought it from the dealership, but he basically put it on a conveyor belt, and it went to a car auction, and basically you buy it without being able to like test drive it or like look at it. It like was still a bunch of the parts were still great, but the engine had sat. Like I left it at his old agent's house in Reno, or Kevin Gasillo did, but it ended up it lived in Reno during a whole winter and didn't move, so it just ended up sitting a lot. So the insides like weren't really taken care of, so I couldn't.
Was it an SRT8?
It was.
Bad dog, huh?
Yeah,
It was a bad dog.
It was a bad dog. I didn't take care of it.
My brother has the wagon one. What's the Magnum? Right?
Yeah, that was it. That's what it
Magnum.
was.
Yeah, he doesn't have the SRT, but he loves that thing. He's
it's
so hard to
wagon
see
guy.
out of that car though.
Yeah,
You were like,
it's like a hearse.
where am I going? Doesn't matter. I look good.
Yeah. Anyway, one other thing I had was you talk about first try a lot. So when you're testing, like you're out in the backcountry testing,
is it first try, or is snowboarders call it fresh tracks? First tracks, or is it first tracks?
I mean, first try is like when you just land something first try.
Yeah, but
tracks
are
first
like,
tracks is kind of like that coveted, like you could like Rochambeau to see who hits the pow jump first.
But you would that would be the proverbial FT, right? Like
I think you're right. I think it is. Yeah, first tracks is kind of the big one because someone goes and leave a bomb hole and then you land something right after them.
That's what I've always.
It doesn't really count as like fresh tracks.
You'd be the fact checker here, so now we're marking it. It's first tracks for FT.
But my question was like, when you're testing something, are you like fully giving it a shot, or are you just like side slipping down it or side whatever it is, just like?
Well, you ever ghost ride the bike just to see where it lies? You're like, all right.
I always said if I win it again and I'm standing at the top and I'm leading after the first run, I'm just ghost riding my bike off the top.
That would be so sick.
Just Richard Nixon up there.
That would be like.
But you do a lot of speed runs, and I don't have any sort of like, I don't know, qualms about doing too many speed runs. A lot of guys like want to just get it over with and not get in their own head, and I'm not one to get in my own head. So, but I feel like you can gain if you're not ready and it doesn't like click as far as how fast to go, because everything's blind. You know, you're rolling off and you have to brake early, and then you don't want to skid up your takeoff that you've built and then have to rebuild it. So you're like, everything you're guessing, you know, far enough back to where you could slow down and have your homie watch and be like, oh, I think that speed would be good if you. So it's it takes time for sure. And then you could just go for it, but then you get dealt with, you know, and you can get lucky for so long. But especially that's part of the wisdom, I guess, is just taking your time with it and not being like, oh shit, I got to hit this now. There's a bunch of people around. They don't think I'm like not worthy if I don't just do it right away. Like I'll do 100 speed runs if it makes me feel better about it. And then when you go for it, you're not stiff kitty in the air. You know, you know it, and then your subconscious knows it, and then it might give you a little subconscious brake tap and help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cam Zink, a lot of people sit in that chair, and I'm going to go ahead and say that not all of them have successfully executed 110-foot backflip.
I
on a
think
mountain
he's the
bike.
first world record. No, second. We had a world record rail slide.
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
Wallace,
yeah.
But you are
Walsh?
the world.
Yeah, Walsh.
Dude, that one was gnarly. I remember
That was
watching that. That was a
gnarly.
battle.
Yeah, that took
Yeah,
him
he
days.
told the story. It was like days and days, and then he
Days.
said his family, his friends had all left after like day 3, and he was like there with just like the film crew like one last day.
Could
like,
you imagine coming to the end of that and just dude?
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine.
Yeah, that one. You could still
it
tell
was
he
100+ feet long.
Yeah,
Wasn't
It was
it?
a football field.
It was 300.
You backflipped that far almost, and he was only like 2.5 feet off.
But
the
you
ground
could
the
still
whole time.
tell he was like psychologically still pretty fucked up from it.
Yeah.
Like that took a lot. It took a lot for him to get that.
Well, you can't just be like, "Nah, I'm okay. I'm done now." You're like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
Danny likes to finish with we got this lightning round, so you got to be quick answers, or else
Quick answers. First thing that comes to your mind. Scariest trick you've ever done?
No footer.
No footer.
From when you were a kid.
What's your daily motivation?
Smiles. Just bring smiles to your face and just have a good time.
I know this is a tough question because we're coming out of a big fire season in Tahoe, but what is the first thing you would try and save in a fire?
My kids, my wife, family. Family.
Yo, like sorry to like chime in there, but geez, like I didn't realize that Sierra like didn't even open this year.
Yeah.
They
They
opened
were,
for like 3 days or something. I didn't realize it was that bad. So
yeah. They completely scorched.
yeah, shout out to I guess all the firefighters and everyone that dealt with that.
And Sierra Tahoe.
And Sierra
Sierra
Tahoe.
Tahoe. That's
Yeah.
what.
Like, buy a pass there next year. Do some good for Tahoe,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Man, the poor guys, poor everybody. Wow, what a sad story.
Yeah.
Biggest mountain bike hero growing up?
John Palmer.
Dang.
Kurt Voorhees, close second.
Who's the best chef in mountain biking?
My brother, probably.
That's cool.
Favorite food back home?
Pizza, pepperoni pizza. Always has been, always will be.
That's me too. Sometimes I throw some pineapple or jalapenos in there.
I run jalapeno and olive if I want to spice it up.
And best young mountain bike talent right now?
That one I can't really do a lightning. I don't know.
They're not out there. You're the best.
I'll say Jackson Goldstone, the racer, but yeah, phenomenal.
All right, Jackson, we got our eyes on you. How can we get a session at the Sandbox?
Just call me up. Show up. Love to have you
heard
guys
it.
out.
Hit them up. DM.
Speaking of which, my event's coming up. You guys don't feel like cruising up to Reno?
What date?
Cam Zink Invitational, 24th through 27th.
Is that an invitation?
This is my invitation to you. And
We
you
don't
are-
have to jump anything though, right?
No, it's like think of Thrasher, King of the Road mixed with like Audi 9s or Darkfest or something like.
Sick.
So
And what are the dates on that?
scavenger hunts and barefoot backflip and make out with an old lady and kind of stuff like that.
You get points for making out with
Sign
It's Reno,
me
of course
up.
you do, right?
Wheelie through a casino, biggest air, we'll wait the bike and moto challenge. Like Josh Hill's coming for moto.
Sick.
And so it's a mix between bike and moto and the party.
What is the oldest lady you've ever made out with?
Just add that one in, huh?
No, it's on there, man.
My old lady.
Okay.
My wife, she's still younger than me, but she's the oldest girl I ever made out.
There you go.
Good. And that's all the questions I have for you. You've slaughtered them.
Well, Cam, we appreciate you here at Monster Energy, and thank you for stopping in.
Thanks for having me, boys. Dude, this has been epic. Nice to meet you
yeah.
guys. The kind of dudes I feel like I've known for a while because I've been
Boom.
watching.
Hey, we grew up together.
We grew up on Fuel TV together.
That's
Just been
so
watching
Let's bring it back.
Bill and Ted.
Cam's on the new show. Heard it here first.
We got to start pitching this movie idea.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny. Fueled by Monster Energy.